Thank you everybody for being here today. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this event, Rights of Nature, a global movement advancing systemic change for real climate solutions. It's my pleasure to have you all here in Dubai, during COP28, bringing this message of hope of the rights of nature. We are bringing together amazing leaders from all over the world, international leaders, to demonstrate how the rights of nature movement and its growth is giving us a bit of faith for a better future. It's with great pleasure that I'm going to present to you all a panel of activists and leaders that are promoting the rights of nature all over the world, and tell you how the rights of nature is a systemic tool that is going to allow us to have a paradigm shift. My name is Natalia Green. I'm from Ecuador, and I am very happy to say that I was part of the Ecuadorian Constitution 15 years ago. Ecuador is a country that 15 years ago became the first country in the world to recognize the rights of nature, and hence now there is a very growing movement that now has 37 countries around the world that have rights of nature initiatives, and not only at the constitutional level, but at a local level, at a legal level, at an ecosystem level. And this amazing initiative is really changing the world. So what I'm going to be sharing with you all today, I'm first going to show a video. If you can help us with the video. 1, 2, 3. And this video is going to show you an animation. If you can share the video right there. And you can see the video of how this movement started with this Pennsylvania expanding it. But we have, since the recognition of the rights of nature in Ecuador, a movement that has grown, and as you see in 2023, there are already 37 countries that have recognized the rights of nature somehow. This amazing initiative has allowed us to make really amazing changes. If we can see the last picture, and I'm just going to show you some victories that we have had in Ecuador. I would like to show you that in Ecuador we have been able, bypassing 15 years of the rights of nature. If you can see the other picture, please. You can see that the rights of nature movement is protecting very endangered species. One of them, and we will show you in just a second, are 2 species of frogs, and you will see them right there in the middle hand. 2 species of frogs that have been rediscovered in the Valley of Inca, that were able to win a case in Ecuador and revoke a license of a mining license in Ecuador on behalf of the rights of nature. These amazing experiences from Ecuador are really having a lot of traction, are changing the system, acknowledging that we are part of nature, and that we are nature defending itself. And that is why I would like to bring together this really beautiful panel of leaders, so they can share their experiences of what's happening around the world. I would like to first call Tom Goldtooth. Tom is the Executive Director of the Indigenous Environmental Network and part of the Executive Committee of GARN. Tom has become an internationally renowned environmental, climate, and economic justice leader, working with many indigenous people and social movements around the world. Tom is Dine Navajo and Dakota, and he's a ceremonial leader, and he's one of our greatest allies. So we would love to welcome you, Tom, so we can hear from you.
Thank you. I think a microphone might be better for me. Yeah, thank you very much. Hamitakiapi. That's a greetings for my people back home in the state of Minnesota. That's our language, and the white man adopted it for our state, Minnesota. It means the water and the sky are clear. They balance each other. And I'm from what they call so-called United States. We are the original peoples where I come from. We are the indigenous. And it's really good to be here on this panel because we have been through our own process with our elders and our youth and our women to talk about this phenomenon, global phenomenon of people wanting to recognize that our Mother Earth has a voice, that our forests have a voice. The woman of the forest is respected and honored for her sacredness, where I have visited in the Amazon that is similar to where I come from. We have a talking tree back home, a talking tree. People who are sick, they go to that talking tree, they get healed, they get doctored. The water has a spirit to it. So if we're going to do anything, even crossing the river or the big lakes, we come from an area of big lakes where I come from. We put a medicine down, we put tobacco offerings, and we bring offerings to the water to recognize the power and the healing and the spirit of the water. When we breathe the air, we honor that breath. So we as indigenous people, where I come from, that's the way we are. We honor that sacredness of the Mother Earth, of life. So in this phenomenon of this formation of this global alliance on rights of nature, it resonated with us. It was similar that these people, many come from Europe, descendants, that they're starting to learn and listen to our elders about how we relate, how we build relationship on the earth, on the soil, how we talk to the trees, how we respect the rivers, the water. So they're beginning to learn those things that our indigenous peoples have always said, that we have a relationship to the nature, we have a relationship to the life itself, animals, birds, fish, that we have a relationship. So that's why within our indigenous network that we consulted with many others, do we take part in joining this network? They said yes, you have to take part because we also are relearning the people where that understanding was taken away from them. The European, it was taken away from them. The male patriarchy of the kingdoms, they wanted to control the people and the spirit and the woman. The relationship of our woman and the relationship of the Uchimaka of the Mother Earth, the woman spirit, the creative spirit of the Mother Earth and our woman. It wants to be controlled by the patriarchy of the men to control the mother, the grandmother energy of the Mother Earth, objectify the same way they objectify their woman. So that's another thing our elder women talked about. It's good to take part because their language they're starting to learn is similar to what we know. So we talked about the environmental protection laws and the colonial government. They don't protect us. When we had a gathering in South Dakota to protect our Minnesota River against the pipeline, the corporation and the government, they didn't ask permission from the river to dry the pipe underneath the river. They didn't ask permission. They didn't even give offerings. They violated the voice and that relationship of that river. We do use this term rights, yes. With our indigenous people, it's a term of responsibility and and respect for that water and Mother Earth and life. So that's why that I'm proud to be involved with this network. We were part of the recent development of the declaration, the Sina Declaration, the seeds of Sina Declaration, where a lot of the members from all cultures of the world came together to talk about how can we firm up our statement of solidarity, unification. As indigenous people, we're proud to say that there was an acceptance of the language that is unique to us as indigenous people. How do we acknowledge with this movement of all cultures, the non-indigenous people, to acknowledge that Mother Earth is the source of life, the nourishment and learning, that we're all part in connection. But the thing that was most important that I will summarize on is that our membership in this network isn't just about people honoring the wisdom of indigenous peoples, understanding our relationship is very important. That's what it is. In our language, on my Dakota side, we have a word called Midakie Owasin. Midakie Owasin. We are all related. It's a very important term. Relationship. Most indigenous people I have met, whether it's the Sakura, like my sister here, Gloria, or my relatives and friends of the Seriaku of Ecuador, or the Hunakwai who are here from Acre, Brazil. They have language that talks about their relationship to that living world. So if the term relationship is very important for us. The other term is inherent. We have an inherent relationship where we have lived in these nation states since the time beginning. We have an inherent relationship. And we have our own laws, indigenous jurisprudence. And the colonial governments that have taken over in those nation states we live, they have stepped on our indigenous jurisprudence. They have stepped on our languages. They have stepped on our knowledge to make it believe that we are pagans in the promised land of the colonizers. So we are in the process of decolonization of our indigenous peoples in the world who try to define us. So as we step into this circle, we are finding mechanisms, methodologies on how the rights of nature movement will be honoring our knowledge and our process that recognizes our inherent relationship jurisprudence as indigenous people. That's very important, that we'll honor and recognize our customary rights. In the United States, we have colonizers who are descendants. We have immigrants. It's not their original homeland. We are the original people. So how do we elevate our inherent relationship in the homelands where we live and also support this movement of people that recognizes their relationship and the importance of the voice and responsibility of the spirit of Mother Earth? Very important to us. And I wanted to say that recognizes the sovereignty and other pathways in customary law and traditional indigenous knowledge. Very important. So this is only a few words I wanted to share with you of this movement of many people that throughout the world who are reevaluating their relationship to the sacredness of Mother Earth. That's very important, especially those people who are descendants from Europe. Yeah, very important throughout the world. It's been a reminder for our relatives all over the world the Adivasis from India said, what you all talking about resonates with us. The people from England, they took over our land, they even renamed our homeland, you know. And so that process of decolonization is tied to humanity redefining its relationship to the sacredness of Mother Earth. Very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom, for always bringing those words of wisdom. We try to use both so we can have louder speaking in the other room. I would like to welcome another of our esteemed leaders from this environmental rights of nature movement, Osprey Lake. She's the founder and executive director of the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network WeCan, member of GAR's executive committee, author of an award-winning book, Uprising for the Earth, Reconnected Culture with Nature. Osprey, it's my pleasure to have you with us.
And without further ado, I would like to invite you to shortly explain to us the cause of water and its link to climate change.
Hello everyone. I just want to acknowledge all the indigenous leaders in the room, and thank you all for being here in the presence and wisdom that you bring, and I feel really honored to be on a panel with all of you esteemed leaders. It really is a pleasure and honor to be here. And also acknowledge that this is an incredibly difficult space to be talking in. Just to name that, for those of you who might be listening on a live stream, it's really a contrast because we're having this session, I believe, right next to a session that is talking about carbon credits. And the contrast is just really quite interesting and confronting, as a lot of these spaces when we come together at the United Nations are. So my name is Osprey Lake, and I'm Executive Director of the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, and I'm also on the Executive Committee of the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature. And I want to say that we're living in a time in which we really need to change everything about how we're living with each other and Mother Earth. Clearly what we're doing is not working, and the urgency of the climate and ecological crises demand that we really completely redesign our economic, social, and legal systems. In our global movements for rights of nature, we're looking for a revolutionary and evolutionary change for society. This has to be a transformative moment. And at the heart of it, we're asking, how can we transform our dysfunctional environmental laws and neoliberal economic systems that are destroying people and planet? I also want to acknowledge that much of the vision and worldview of the rights of nature framework comes from indigenous peoples around the world and their knowledge of the natural laws of Mother Earth. So even though we're talking about rights of nature in a modern context, the idea and the worldview is very, very old. After decades of environmental protection laws, which have, of course, achieved some successes, our modern legal systems have failed to prevent increasingly grave threats of global warming, degradation of Earth's sacred systems of life, and the growing displacement and death of humans and other species, because we also need to talk about all of the destruction that's gone on and also the displacements that are taking place. In particular, there's concern for indigenous, black, and brown, and frontline communities who bear the worst impacts of disasters because of environmental racism and societal injustices. And I would really be negligent to not also mention our sisters and brothers in Gaza right now. This is a time of revolutionary change in how we are living when we look at our systems of oppression that affect the land, people of color, indigenous people, and the earth, and they're all connected, and we need to change these very oppressive systems. To truly live sustainably and live in harmony with the earth, we need to change the very foundations, the very structural DNA of our legal frameworks to respect the natural laws of the earth. And today, the majority of the world's legal frameworks are based on treating nature as property. Our living rivers, forests, and mountains are treated as property to be sold and consumed. And Tom was talking about this, the fact of really recognizing Mother Earth is alive. As property, these natural communities and ecosystems are not recognized as rights holders. So in most legal systems, because nature is property, it's invisible in our courts. And by maintaining this current structure of law, we are furthering a dangerous human relationship to the natural world of ownership and exploitation. So we have to completely change that dynamic. And we have to ask, why haven't we stopped these destructive actions that are not only lethal, but also legal currently under our laws? We need entirely different legal configurations that recognize the Earth's living systems are not the enslaved property of humans. And a primary premise of the Rights of Nature movement is that in order to ensure a thriving future, humans must reorient themselves from an exploitive and ultimately self-destructive relationship with nature to one that honors the deep interrelationship of all life and contributes to the health and integrity of the natural world. This is a way of uplifting reciprocity. We need to remember our reciprocal relationship with Mother Earth. An essential step in achieving this is to create a system of jurisprudence that sees and treats nature as a fundamental rights-bearing entity, not as something to be exploited. And in our movements, we advocate that breaking out of the human-centered limitations of our current legal systems is actually one of the most transformative and highly leveraged actions that humanity can take to create a healthy and just future for all. We need to get Mother Earth back in the center of the conversation. Remember who's important here, and that we are honored to be living here as spirits on this earth, and to remember that sacred relationship and not take it for granted. And as climate disruption and environmental degradation increases globally, it could not be more important to highlight that exploitation and extractivism is a result of patriarchal societies, colonization, racism, and neoliberal capitalism. So again, going back to these systems that we're in that really got us into this poly-crisis. These systems are based upon the same systems and ideology of power over and exploitation of women, indigenous people, people of color, and the land. And so that's why we need something really disruptive like Rights of Nature that can bring us home to Mother Earth, home to our communities, home to a right way of living. It's clear that the global community needs to address these systems of oppression in an intersectional manner to move towards justice and real solutions. And Rights of Nature can offer a vital path for this effort. And that's one of the things I love about this Rights of Nature movement is it's broad enough, it's big enough to encompass all of these oppressions collectively and also provide a pathway forward that is just and healthy. What we're seeing is our collective work globally and our people's movements are rising to say no to the commodification of Mother Earth or our sky. Our earth and atmosphere are not for sale, and we don't want our sacred earth, water, and air and forest in the marketplace. We don't want to see carbon offset programs. These are false solutions to the climate crisis. Instead, we want to see pollution stopped at the source, and for governments, corporate actors, and all of us to live with respect to Mother Earth. We cannot keep taking and taking, but very simply, humans are not going to survive. Like Mother Earth's immune systems, people are rising up in our communities worldwide to say yes to Rights of Nature, yes to Pachamama, yes to Mother Earth. Let's change our laws to live in harmony with life. And in fact, we are a global movement, as Nadia was saying. At the national level, with Ecuador having the first country in the world in 2008 to recognize Rights of Nature in the Constitution. We've seen ordinance across the United States. We are seeing the Ponca Nation in Oklahoma has made history as the first tribe in the U.S. to recognize Rights of Nature into law to protect their territory from fossil fuel extraction. New Zealand Parliament has given the Wanganui River legal standing. The Colombian Supreme Court has recognized rights of the Amazon River ecosystem. So this is already happening. This is one of the largest growing movements all over the world for changing our systems. I remember the Secretary General had stated earlier this year that Earth jurisprudence is one of the largest growing movements in the world right now, and Rights of Nature is right at the core of that. So I think it's very exciting to see that not only is this an idea whose time has come, it's actually being implemented, and we need it to grow. And given this moment, we're really calling at Barn, at Weekend, during COP28, calling on the United Nations to adopt the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Nature, of Rights of Mother Earth. It is long needed. We have the United Nations having adopted the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, but now we need the Universal Declarations of the Rights of Mother Earth. Lastly, my last comment is that this COP, where global movements are strengthening ever more for our demand for a fossil fuel phase-out. This is one of the big collective demands from civil society. As we make this demand, we also know that it's essential to make clear what are false solutions to the crisis, including dangerous or unproven techno-fixes, carbon offset schemes that don't work, net zero pledges that delay immediate action, amongst others. And because of this, Weekend is releasing a policy analysis this week, and I'm going to hold up the cover here for you to see this in a second. Because we think this is also part of a core foundation to the Rights of Nature work. The title is The Need for Real Zero, Not Net Zero, Shifting from False Solutions to Real Solutions and a Just Transition. And this report details this and also mentions why Rights of Nature is a solution that we need to look at when we are attempting real zero versus net zero and getting out from false solutions to what's really going to work for Mother Earth and our communities. So we need to move quickly, but we also need to move equitably and with real solutions. And I want to close by also mentioning that we invite all of you to participate in the Rights of Nature movement with us. And we will be having a Rights of Nature press conference later this week where we're going to be releasing an updated white paper on a lot of what is going on with the Rights of Nature movement globally. And please join us. This is a growing movement, and we're going to need everyone because it's a system change level, and that's what's really needed at this point with the level of crises we're now facing. Thank you so much, and I'd like to hand the floor back over to Natty. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Osprey, and thank you for sharing also about the report. It will be also to be sharing it around social media and the website we have created for this event. Next, I would like to welcome Gloria Oshiwa. Gloria is the president of the Ashiniawaka, the Zapara Women's Association of Ecuador, a defender of human rights, women and nature, and she has a long history of peaceful and legitimate work in the defense of the rights of her people. Gloria, te doy la bienvenida. Soraya, ¿puedes pasar si quieres? She's going to be sharing the floor with Soraya, also some of the Zaparas.
Mi nombre es Gloria Oshiwa.
My name is Gloria Oshiwa.
Bueno, yo soy de Ecuador, yo soy pueblo Zapara, yo soy Asociación de Mujeres Zapara Shinoka, soy presidenta.
I'm here from Ecuador, from the Amazon. I'm the president of Ashiniauca, which is the Zapara Women's Association.
Bueno, aquí voy a hablar mi experiencia, ¿no? Mi lucha. Yo cómo lucho a mi territorio, cómo estamos cuidando a nuestro territorio, Zapara.
I'm here to talk about my experience protecting my territory, the Zapara territory in Ecuador.
Gracias a todos contactos aquí, la Natalia, lo que organizaron, que me invitaron, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you to everybody who invited me here, including Natalia. Thank you for organizing this.
Y bueno, y nuestro territorio Zapara, nosotros estamos cuidando mucho, ¿por qué? Por los niños, por el futuro. La lucha es no solo para nosotros, la lucha es para todos, todas las humanidades, ¿no? Tenemos petróleo, madera, todo eso tenemos en nuestro territorio, pero ellos también tienen su derecho.
In our territory, we have there is oil, there is wood and logging that people want to happen, and that's what we're trying to protect.
Y nuestros viejos dijeron que estas cosas tienes que quedar bajo tierra el petróleo. No, tenemos que sacar ahí, y si saca Estado, ¿dónde vamos a estar? Como pueblo Zapara somos poquito, terminamos.
Our elders say that the oil needs to stay in the ground, that we have to protect that.
It has to stay in the ground.
Y también gracias a colectiva de Yasuní, perdón, ahí está un compañero Orañe y voy a hablar Yasuní, y todo el mundo, y luchamos de Yasuní. Esa colectiva fue todo, sí por sí ganamos, el Ecuador votamos todo. Eso es primera vez, ¿no? Para mí soy orgullo de ganar esa Yasuní.
We're very grateful to the Yasuni people who fought for the rights of nature and who won rights, Yasuni C, in the Yasuni C campaign in Ecuador. We're very happy to share this with them.
Eso está, bueno, gracias Natalia también lucha fuerte. Ella tampoco no tiene miedo, igual como vos, ¿no? Yo no tengo miedo del Estado. El Estado, claro que es dueño económicamente, son para ellos. Y nosotros, y también somos humanos, tenemos derecho, ¿no? Todo.
Thank you to Natalia also for fighting the state. We all have rights, we're humans, we need to have human rights.
And she's not afraid to fight the state either. And
el Estado habla siempre para los indígenas, son becas, todo eso. No es así lo que ellos hablan, solo para explotar. Claro que entre gobierno y gobierno han de tener su económico de ciudad grande. Y nosotros indígenas, si explotan petróleo en nuestro territorio, nosotros vamos a quedar contaminados. ¿Qué vamos a comer? Ese es nuestro mercado, la selva, pesca, medicina, todo lo que tenemos. Y vamos a perder todo. ¿Y qué va a pasar con nosotros en nuestra vida? Por eso queremos que quede bajo tierra.
we have to keep the resources in the ground. We have to protect our resources because we depend on the fishing, on the natural resources. And there's a transactional relationship with the government, but they have to understand that if we don't have these resources, there's no way that we will be able to live.
Sí. Gracias.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to call Soraya Oshingwa so she can complement what Gloria was sharing about the Zapara territory.
We have extreme weather and climate related to water that flood and drought. We also have the challenge in drainage and irrigation system. Also brings to the
Buenos días con todos.
Hello everyone, good day.
Next slide, please.
Mi nombre es Soraya Oshingwa, soy de Nacional de Zapara. Estoy aquí presentando de Ecuador. Bueno, yo quiero hablar sobre de mi territorio. Nosotros en nuestro territorio estamos defendiendo para que no entre petróleo, para que no se contamine nuestro territorio. Por eso estamos aquí, nosotros presentando. Gracias, Natalia, para estar aquí frente a hablar un poco de qué está pasando en el territorio Zapara. Bueno, nosotros no tenemos...
Hi, my name is Soraya Oshingwa, and I'm here from the Zapara territory, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak. Thank you to Natalia.
We are here to talk about how the petroleum industry is affecting our territory, and thank you again for this opportunity to talk.
Bueno, aquí el cambio climático y ha cambiado muchas cosas en nuestro territorio. No es como antes y hay muchas enfermedades. Por eso nosotros no queremos más petróleo para que no nos
with the entry of petroleum, we've seen a lot of rises in sickness, especially. We're seeing a lot of a rise in sickness, especially in the children of our territory, and this is why we don't want an increase in. We don't want the petroleum industry in our territory to help save the health of our children in our community.
Eso estoy dejando mensaje para ustedes, escuchan todos y gracias.
This is the message that I wanted to share with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Soraya, and thank you for bringing the voice of the women. I understand that the Zapata women came together to bring this message to the COP, so I'm really happy to have you all here. And before we turn the floor to a different country and continent to talk about the Antarctica and the tribunals, I would like to welcome Juan Bay. Juan, si te puedo acercar, Juan is the president of the Guarani nationality, the Nahue, and he will be sharing with us as well what's happening in his territory. He comes from Yasuni, that is the territory that just won, and is the first territory to leave the oil underground democratically with a national vote. So I'm very happy to welcome you. Quita, ¿te quedaste con el micrófono? Ya, adelante.
Wapone Baneki Tomamini Iñomo, buenos días, mi nombre es Juan Bay, soy presidente de la nacionalidad guaraní del Ecuador Nahue. La nacionalidad guaraní aproximamos 5.000 personas con contacto en el mundo moderno.
In the Guaranis, we are one of the latest contacted indigenous people in the world.
El pueblo guaraní estamos asentados y tenemos una aproximada una 2 millones de hectáreas, donde que estamos asentados en la Amazonía ecuatoriana, tanto Pastaza, Napo y Ale.
We have approximately 2 million hectares where we are in the Ecuadorian Amazon, in Napo, Orellana, and Pastaza.
Una de esas 40% es titulada y 60% está en proceso de titulación.
40% of this territory we have land titles, and 60% is still in the process.
Dentro de ella está el Parque Nacional Yasuní.
Within this territory is the Yasuni National Park.
Que es nuestro territorio y nuestras casas.
It is our territory and our home.
El 20 de agosto en el Ecuador hubo una consulta popular.
On August 20th in Ecuador there was a popular referendum, a national popular referendum,
donde todos los ecuatorianos, 60%, sumaron a la consulta hacia el Yasuní.
Where all 60% of the Ecuadorians voted in favor of Yasuni.
Donde el pueblo ecuatoriano, guaraní y las nacionalidades ganamos para salvar el Yasuní.
Where the Ecuadorian people, the Guaranis and indigenous people, we want to save Yasuni.
Dimos el primer paso verdadero hacia climático, ganando una consulta popular con 60% de apoyo del pueblo ecuatoriano.
We gave the first real solution, real step towards the resolution when 60% of the country voted in favor of Yasuni.
Hemos decretado territorio guaraní un territorio de emergencia.
We have declared our territory, Guarani territory, in emergency.
Por demandas en defensa territorial, desarrollo, salud y educación, etc.
Because of the demands for territorial development and health, etc.
Nosotros ya dimos el primer paso defendiendo los derechos de la naturaleza del Yasuní. Ahora pregunto, ¿qué va a hacer el mundo y gobierno, organismo, ONG y todos ustedes?
We have already given the first steps to recognize and protect the rights of nature in Yasuni and Ecuador. I'll ask and wonder now, what are the governments going to do now? What is the next step?
Para apoyarnos, para que sigamos defendiendo nuestro territorio, y si violentan los derechos de la naturaleza, están violentando derechos de los pueblos guaraní.
to support us and to protect the rights of nature, because if the rights of nature are violated, then the rights of the Waorani people are also being violated.
Nos defenderemos entre todos, nos destruimos juntos. El cambio climático es un problema de todos, pero nosotros estamos protegiendo la naturaleza. Ustedes se suman a nuestra lucha.
We will defend ourselves. Climate change is something that we are all needing to fight for. Are you willing to be part of this fight?
Una de esas, como Parque Nacional Yasuní, y también hemos salvado a los pueblos en el ámbito voluntario como Taguera y Tarmenani.
We have saved not only the national park, but also the indigenous people in voluntary isolation, Tagaeri and Tarmenani.
Muchas gracias, muy buenos días.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you so much to my indigenous colleagues from Ecuador in demonstrating how rights of nature for 15 years is really showing up now as a systemic change. I would like to now welcome Alberto Saldamando. He's the he's the head of the Council of Human Rights and Climate Change at the IEN. He's also a judge in our International Rights Nature Tribunal. He's Chicurado Zapoteca, an internationally recognized expert on human rights and indigenous rights, and he represents indigenous peoples, organizations, and communities from various countries of the world before the United Nations Human Rights Mechanisms. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Alberto.
Let's hear from the President of
Voy a hacer mis comentarios en español. Como ahí, la verdad es que mis comentarios reflejan.
I'm going to make my comments in Spanish.
What is the situation today?
Reflejan lo que se ha dicho.
And why are
La identidad indígena ligada con la identidad de la tierra.
They will reflect what has been said, because indigenous reality reflects the reality of the earth.
Hasta ahora nos hemos implementado políticas globales para reducir las emisiones de carbono y limitar el calentamiento global. Las personas que menos contribuyen al cambio climático, en particular los pueblos indígenas y las comunidades locales, son las que se ven más directamente afectadas por los efectos del calentamiento global.
Until now, there have not been implemented global policies to reduce global emissions of carbon and control climate change. People do not contribute to climate change. In particular, those people, the indigenous people and indigenous communities, are the ones that are directly affected by the effects of climate change. They are also affected in a disproportionate way due to that the states do not recognize and do not guarantee its human rights and collective rights to its own development and subsistence ways.
Subsistencia autodeterminada. Las sequías y las inundaciones afectan a la soberanía alimentaria y la alimentación, la seguridad de las comunidades indígenas y locales y su soberanía y la libre determinación. El papel de las empresas privadas en la colonización y en el desafío de los combustibles fósiles, así como criminalización de los defensores de los derechos humanos que se oponen a la colonización y la extracción de recursos, incluso la extracción de combustibles fósiles aún sigue sin cese.
The drought and the floods affect the food sovereignty and food security. The security of indigenous communities and local communities is sovereignty and is free determination. The role of private companies in colonization and development of fossil fuels, as well as the criminalization of human rights defenders that are opposing to this colonization and destruction of resources, includes the extraction of fossil fuels that still does not stop.
Tuve la oportunidad de ser juez en el tribunal bueno, es el tren mal logrado, el tren Maya en México, escuchamos testimonios de las comunidades indígenas mayas y los líderes de ejidos sobre los daños causados por a la madre tierra y a sus habitantes, a toda la red de la vida.
I had the opportunity to be a judge in the International Rights of Nature Tribunal of the badly named Maya Train in Mexico. We heard testimonies of indigenous communities, Mayan communities, leaders of indigenous communities about the damages caused to the Mother Earth and its inhabitants and to all the network of life due to the train.
El veredicto oral que escuché fue que la selva vive, cada árbol vive, cada cenote, cada lago, cada río vive. La selva es un ser colectivo de todas las vidas, el ambiente, todas las vidas, el ambiente y la biodiversidad, las milpas de maíz, los insectos, las abejas, los murciélagos y las personas, individuos, comunidades, los pueblos maya en su vida colectiva.
In the verdict that we gave, we heard that the forest is alive, that every tree lives, that every cenote, every lake, every river lives, that the forest is a collective, that it brings together all lives and the environment, the biodiversity, all the cornfields, the insects, the bees, the bats, the people, the individuals, the communities, the Mayan people and its collective life.
La tierra vive. El maíz vive y alimenta la vida de la selva, igual como la vida de los pueblos. No hay pueblos indígenas sin maíz y no hay maíz en el pueblo maya, sin las milpas en la tierra. Esta relación con la tierra no solamente es material, pero también espiritual. Se expresa en canción, en danza, en ceremonias y en palabras.
Earth is alive. The corn is alive and nourishes the life of the jungle itself and the life of indigenous people. There are no indigenous people without corn. There's no corn without the Mayan people, without its land. This relationship with the land is not only material but also spiritual. It is expressed in the songs, in dance, in ceremony, and in words.
El idioma presta vida a la cultura y conocimientos de los ancestros. El idioma también vive y es nutrido por la tierra.
The language also adds to the culture, to the knowledge of the ancestors. The language is also alive and is nourished by the land.
La vida se entiende en todos los instrumentos en convenios de derechos humanos. México ha firmado a todos los convenios y sus obligaciones morales legales vinculantes de defender la vida, toda la vida de los mares, de los cenotes, de los insectos, de personas. Sin embargo, los Estados Unidos mexicanos han vendido la vida a las grandes economías del mundo, China y los Estados Unidos, y grandes empresas agroindustriales y turísticas. En eso condenamos al Estado como culpable del asesinato de los defensores de la vida, a miles de personas inocentes ejerciendo su derecho a la vida y la libre expresión.
The right to life finds in instruments and international treaties of human rights. Mexico has signed all of these treaties and its moral obligation, legal obligation is binding to defend life and all life, the mangroves, the cenotes, the insects, the people. However, the Mexican state has sold the life to the big companies in the world, China and the United States, and big companies, agro-industrial companies and touristic companies. We have to condemn the state as guilty of murder of those defenders of life and those thousands of innocent people defending the right to life and to free expression.
Muchísimas gracias, fue un placer estar con ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here with you all.
Negative weather patterns will continue until 2060 is independent of our successive climate mitigation, and we have only lost.
Thank you, Alberto, for being here with us. And finally, we would like to receive Danielle Keller. She's an indigenous artist, and she's going to talk to us about the Antarctica Declaration. Danielle shares histories through her art by showcasing a true beauty and meaning of indigenous culture and people. Danielle was the First Nations person from Canada to join 2041 Climate Force Antarctic Expedition in March 2022, becoming an ambassador for the Antarctic. It's a pleasure, Danielle, to have you with us, and so you can share the work about the rights of nature in Antarctica. And also today is a big day, right? Today is the day of the Antarctica.
Climate change. Good news is that we have better means to climate change.
Tate Kapewa Sak Nisigasun, Nianahas, Tate Koakatusagochinia. So hello and how are you? My name is Comes Lightning and my English name is Danny Keeler. I'm a Plains Cree woman from Coakatous First Nations on Treaty 4 territory in the country known as Canada. I would like to first off apologize for being a little late. I came from Abu Dhabi. I just came in from Abu Dhabi for the Student Energy International Conference, where I am in charge of taking Indigenous youth to come and experience energy, climate, sustainability, and the conference that's going on. So that's why I was late. My apologies, but we're here now. So I am the manager of 7Gen, which is an Indigenous-led organization for Indigenous youth by Indigenous youth, where we empower and educate Indigenous youth to get into the clean energy sector with water purification systems, food sovereignty, and everything sustainability. So that's why I'm here, but I am also part of what is called the Antarctica Rights. So, as mentioned before, I was the First Nations person from Canada to be a participant of the 2041 Foundation, and I went down to Antarctica, and it completely changed my life. I seen the first-hand effects of climate change, which was really devastating, but I also seen the beauty and the wonder of what Antarctica is. And so I am now an ambassador for the Antarctic, and I am on a mission to help with the climate crisis that we are all in. And Antarctica is like the key to these climate solutions, because if Antarctica goes, we all go. And so I want to focus on the trickle-hand effects of climate change and how Antarctica plays a part in all of that. And so I became I'm a founding member of the Antarctic Rights. So we're a working group right now, and we are creating a nonprofit organization where we want, with the rights of nature, and we want to get Antarctica its own living personhood rights. So it would be recognized as a living entity. So that is what the initiative is, and we're made up of really incredible people from across the world, of lawyers and scientists who have dedicated their careers to the preservation of Antarctica. And I'm really honored to be part of this initiative and to be an actual founding member. So it's created to safeguard Antarctica and the Southern Ocean. An international team of 25 experts, the Antarctic Rights Working Group, is campaigning to recognize the region's fundamental legal rights. So recognizing that Antarctica has legal rights establishes a standard for holding states, corporations, and individuals legally accountable if they infringe on those rights, as we have done with human rights. So we want to focus on this through an Indigenous lens, with Indigenous ways of knowing. To decolonize ourselves so that we can actually see Antarctica as a living human being, because we as Indigenous people know that everything has a spirit, everything has life, and we know that Antarctica does. When I went down there, it was like I seen Mother Earth, a part of Mother Earth's soul that hasn't been touched yet. And so I really want to help create this initiative so that nobody can go down and extract and poison Antarctica, because the working group is calling on organizations and individuals to join the Antarctic Alliance, which will finalize and adopt the draft, the Antarctica Declaration Act that we are creating. And before we establish it, we want to establish it before implementing it. So we want to take our time doing this, and we want to get the right partners and right people to be involved with this, so we can all work together collaboratively. And the initiative isn't intended to replace the Antarctic Treaty System, but it boldly calls for a transformation within the existing framework. So like I said, we want to collaborate with everybody who's involved with the preservation of Antarctica and all that. So this unique and progressive new initiative will formally, it's going to be introduced today on Antarctica Day. It's a very special day. And we want to encourage people to be a part of this. Please, if you guys are interested, come talk to me. I'll let you know all about it. We're making a declaration and a constitution, and we eventually want to propose it to the United Nations and get it legally established. Like I said, we are made up of amazing lawyers and scientists who dedicated their entire careers to this movement, to Antarctica, to climate change, and we really want everybody to be involved and to get this initiative started. So we're going to be moving forward in the new year with the declaration and getting partnerships and getting the movement on the go. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening to my spiel about Antarctica. Thank you for having me, and yeah, Egosé.
Thank you, Daniel. And as you have seen, we have been able to listen to our indigenous partners, to our environmental leaders, to our frontline communities, talking from Ecuador to Antarctica to the US to all over the world. Really, the Rights of Nature movement is expanding so fast because it's a solution that makes sense. It's a real solution to climate change, and that is why we are talking about it here during COP28 in an oil-producing country where we're saying that we need to leave the oil on the ground, where we're saying that we need to protect the rights of Mother Earth. And I would like to thank everybody for being here today. Unfortunately, we're wanting to have Nemo Bassi with us. There's like a big line and like a lot of security, so he still cannot pass security. And also Will did not make it, our young ambassador did not make it because his plane was late. A great grandmother, Mary Lyon, is also in another event. But we have been able to listen to amazing leaders today, and I want to thank you all. There are so many voices that are proliferating around the world, around the rights of nature, that we have just today given you a little scope of what is happening. And I really wish that you can follow us in our social media. GARN, the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, has put up a page for COP28, where you can find information about this event, where you will find the report that's going to be launched, where you will find the declaration, where you will find the map that we just showed with the animation of how the Rights of Nature movement is expanding around the world. And we would just like to thank you all for being here today, and I hope that you keep enjoying, but also understand that this is a time for change, this is a time for urgent change, and that we need this real solution. So thank you so much for being here today, and it's been our pleasure.